City Council is in session. Mr. Crew, if you don't mind, sir.
Dingfelder. Goods. Maniscalco. Citro.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
And Vieira.
Here. Okay, we move onward to item 14.
Mary Samaniego, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Item number 14 is REZ 1971. It's a rezoning request for the property located at 224 East Emily Street from RS 50 to Planned Development Detached Single Family Residential.
Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. We're in the Central Tampa Planning District. More specifically, we're within the Tampa Heights Urban Village. We're along North Orla Avenue and West Emily Street. This is actually the Woodlawn Cemetery, and to the south is the Plymouth Playground, which is right there at Plymouth Street. So this is very much single-family detached in the area. I would also note that it's in an evacuation E zone, and Heart Route number 1 serves the subject site, providing transit options to downtown Tampa and the University Area Center. And then, yeah. On the future land use map, that blue is public. That's the Woodlawn Cemetery I pointed out earlier. The orange is the single-family detached residential. That's the residential 10 future land use category. And then this is R20. And then to the south, I have recreation open space, which is where the Plymouth Playground is. We did find this request consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Tampa Comprehensive Plan seeks to support urban villages by providing uses that typically make up what is considered a traditional livable community. A single-family detached residential does support this policy direction of the comprehensive plan. We found that the density is such that it was anticipated under the residential 10 future land use category, and it will be comparable and compatible with the surrounding area. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mary Samaniego for the record. Again, this is a plan development request to create one lot. Just so you kind of understand the context of what they're asking for. The subject property is currently zoned RS 50. The applicant and the property owner are wanting to split or subdivide the property. The entire lot was large enough, it was not 10,000 square feet in area to create two 5,000 square foot lots. So they are rezoning a portion of the parent tract to PD, and then the remaining portion meets the RS 50 zoning district in order to be split. So this is a plan development showing the one lot that they are trying to create that is substandard beyond the RS 50 district. The lot is only 60 feet wide by 81 feet, so this lot is only 4,860 square feet. Whenever an applicant or a property owner requests to create a lot less than 5,000 square feet, that's the smallest lot that we have in a standard zoning district, they default into a plan development in effect to create their own minimum lot size. So because this portion of the lot, this new lot that they wanted to create, did not fit into the existing RS 50 zoning district, they were having to do a PD for this single lot. Saying that the planning, design and development coordinations has some changes to the site plan between first and second reading. The proposed setbacks are comparable to, and the height is comparable to the RS 50 zoning district. Again, the lot is also 60 feet wide, it's just it does not have the depth per the original plat. Natural resources does have some changes between first and second reading, as well as stormwater. So I will remind you when you make your motion, if you make your motion to approve, to remember the revision sheet. And the only waiver that's being requested is to contribute to the tree trust fund for any trees, mitigation or required trees that cannot be placed back on site. As you can see on the site plan, there are quite a number of existing trees that will be saved, and sometimes that prohibits the planting of additional trees, and they would pay to the tree trust fund. Saying that, the Development Review and Compliance staff did find this consistent with the applicable sections of the City of Tampa Land Development Code. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Applicant, please.
Good evening. My name is Perry Sullivan. Here's a copy of the lot that my client owns. He owns the whole lot. This house that we're remodeling, and we're keeping this legal lot. And this is the house that this is one we're remodeling. This one we're remodeling. This house was built in 1923, so the zoning is a little different now than what it was in 23. The one adjacent to it is the one in 1950. So what my client is trying to do is utilize these lots. This house is in very disrepair. It's at least 1.5 feet below the crown of the road because he was in 23. So now a lot of water has been in there and pretty much destroyed the house. This is just a proposal of what we're trying to do. It'll be a lot, it'll be a very large improvement over what we have there now. And this is just the floor plan, what we plan to look like. This yellow house is one remodeling. The one in the back we're gonna scrape the lot. It's the only thing holding together the termites. Have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Well,
Anybody here to publicly comment on item number 14? If so, please come forward. A motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Any opposed? Councilman Miranda, do you feel comfortable taking item number 14, sir?
Yes, sir. Law number RZ 19-71. Mr. Chairman, move an ordinance for first reading consideration and owner's rezoning property in the general vicinity of 224 West Emily Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described from section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 single family resident to PD plan development residential single family detached, providing an effective date. And that's that in my opinion the petitioner has met the basis for meeting the burden of proof to provide competent and substantial evidence, and this record is consistent with the comprehensive plan in the city of Tampa code.
And Mr. Shelby was
And any other documents you may need.
And the revision sheet included.
And the revision sheet.
Thank you.
Okay.
As Ms. Amier was looking at me like that saying, don't forget it.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion by Councilman Miranda, a second by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion carried with Carlson voting no. Second reading and adoption will be on October 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we move to the next one, item 15.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chairman, Council, LaShawn Dock, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Council, the next item is AB 2-1921. The applicant is being represented by John Grandolph. The request before you is for a large venue, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premise, and for package sales, consumption off premise. The property under this request contains a total of 5 parcels. These parcels are located within an overall PDA, which was approved in 2007 under file number 0748. And that PDA was approved for a mixture of uses. And that includes residential, office, commercial, and hotel uses. So that PDA is known as the West Shore Marina District, and I'd like to show you just that overall area for the district for that project. This is pretty simple. So this is showing you the PDA boundary. So the northern boundary, just to orient you on this map, this is Gandy Boulevard to the north. Tyson Avenue is the south. The boundary to the east is West Shore, and then the bay is to the west. It's not in this picture, but Bridge Street has been constructed and that is running center of the project as the main corridor, and there is a roundabout that is provided there, which I have for you on this map. Before I get into the AB sales area, I'd like to show you where these parcels are located in relation to the overall project area. So this is the aerial. This is Gandy Boulevard to the north. This is Bridge Street. This is the roundabout that was constructed, and then this takes you to the southern end of the PDA project, and then that's Tyson Avenue. But the area under this request are the parcels that are located in red. So parcel 1 is located on the west side of Bridge Street. Parcel 2 is on the east side at the corner of Gandy. Parcel 3 is on the east side of the roundabout, and this is parcel 4, located on the southeast corner. And parcel 5 is located here behind the residential that is there. So under the request before you, the proposed uses are restaurant, bar lounge, retail sales to include convenience and shoppers goods, gasoline, and recreational facility. And then if I can have the map back up, please, on the Elmo. So for the parcels, under the AB sales request, for parcels 1 and 2, the area requested would include both parcels, the entire parcel. So parcel 1, the request is for 72,246 square feet. For parcel 2, the request is for 43,391 square feet. For parcel 3, 13,001 square feet of indoor space is proposed and 1,219 square feet of outdoor. For parcel 4, 9,966 square feet of indoor and 1,152 square feet of outdoor. For parcel 5 is 44,374 square feet of indoor and 76,840 square feet of outdoor. So the total AB sales area is 268,188 square feet. So the AB sales hours are listed on the site plan. They are listed as consistent with Chapter 14. The PDA was approved for 1,750 residential units, 83,750 square feet of office, 156,250 square feet of commercial, and 200 room hotel. So the West Shore Marina District contains 54 acres. This PDA is a project that was approved to be developed in phases. So as the development occurs, one thing that is required prior to building permitting is they must submit for and receive approval through the incremental site plan review process. Once they receive approval through that process, then they move forward to permitting. So the reason I am explaining this is because some of the pictures that I show you of the parcels are vacant because it is a phased development. So the parking required is based upon the approved PDA, and it must be met at the time of permitting. Through this special use process, a waiver has been requested of 30% of the required parking, and that is for the restaurant uses, which would have alcoholic beverage sales. And that request is listed on the site plan, that waiver. The site plan also states that there's no outdoor amplified sound permitted. This is for bar lounge uses and for restaurant uses only, and that all permits issued after April 1st, 2011 shall keep on site a copy of the adopted ordinance and associated site plan. There are 3 waivers under this request. So one is requested to be added between first and second reading. The first waiver is to reduce the separation of residential uses from 250 feet to 0 feet. The second waiver is to allow alcoholic beverage sales in parcels 1, 2, and 5 only to be located within the parking or loading area or space. The third waiver is to allow up to a 30% parking reduction for all restaurant uses serving alcoholic beverages, and that's for parcels 1 through 4. On page 3 of the staff report, Council, you'll find the staff findings. For planning, design, and development coordination, there's a finding of inconsistent, and that is related to the 3 waivers that are requested. Also, there are site plan revisions required between first and second reading. I have provided for you a site plan revision sheet. And that has been provided to the applicant, and the applicant does agree to make the requested changes between first and second reading. On page 5 of the staff report, you'll find transportation planning's finding of inconsistent. It is related to the waiver requested for the 30% parking reduction for the restaurant uses through the project. On page 5 of the report, you'll see the code criteria for council reference and consideration. Section 27-43 is provided for you, the definitions. It starts with the large venue, which is the request before you, and then all the classifications and the requested uses under this request, which I'll review with you in a moment, which is a part of the AB use table and schedule provided in the site plan. On page 6 of the report, section 27-129 contains the general standards. And on page 7 of the report, section 27-132 contains the regulations regarding special uses. And then this is the aerial. It's on the other. So this is Gandy Boulevard. This is Bridge Street. And this is the roundabout. So the pictures I'll show you, I'll start with parcel 1, then I'll move over to parcel 2 and just do the parcels in order. Head south on Bridge Street, parcel 3 and 4, and then I'll show you parcel 5. This view of parcel 5 is only from this point, and it'll show you west, but that parcel has not been developed, so you'll just see the entry into the parcel. So this is parcel 1, that's the north end of the site. That's at the corner of Gandy. This is another view of parcel 1. This is the south end of parcel 1. That's on Bridge Street. This is parcel 2 on Bridge Street on the east side. And that's another view of parcel 2. This is the view looking south on Bridge Street. Then we're down south on Bridge Street. This is the parcel 3, looking north. That's another view of parcel 3. This is parcel 3 here on the left, and parcel 4 would be on the right. This is parcel 4. Another view of parcel 4 that's looking southeast. And this is on the other side of the roundabout, the residential that is across from parcel 3. And this is that view of parcel 5. And this is just from the point of the roundabout. So the request before you is for the large venue for the beer, wine, liquor. So within that overall request, an alcoholic beverage sales schedule has been provided that is on page 2 of the site plan. That schedule lists the permitted uses within the alcoholic beverage sales categories. So within this request, the allowable uses are the restaurant designation, bar and lounge, retail sales, and recreational facility. This also contains the alcoholic beverage sales category, and then the maximum square footage is allowed for each category. What's important to note is the special conditions which are listed. For the restaurant category, the special conditions are, 1, they are subject to section 27-319, which is the reporting requirement. So each restaurant use must report their alcoholic beverage sales. No sales are permitted within the parking or loading space. And then the other condition, which will be added between first and second reading, is no outdoor amplified sound after 11 p.m. The other condition to mention, council, is that for the bar lounge category, these are the conditions that are listed, which is no outdoor amplified sound and no sales permitted within the parking or loading area. And these are the associated parcel numbers where these uses would be allowed. So within the overall table, what would be added between first and second reading is a condition that the allowable uses could be exchanged between the project area, between these parcels. Also that sidewalk cafes are required to have a right-of-way permit. If you have a sidewalk cafe in the right-of-way, that is a separate process and it cannot be approved through this request. And council, that concludes my presentation. Jonathan Scott is here with Transportation, and he'd like to speak for a moment regarding the parking waiver requested, but I am available if you have questions.
And before Councilman Dingfelder, you have a question, sir?
Yes, Ms. Doc, could you
Yes.
put up that last frame, the table?
Oh, the table. Yes.
And footnote 2 specifically says, hours of operation shall be consistent with city code, and we've been having that discussion exactly what that means and what constraints that might be. So as you read that today, based upon the city code, what does that mean?
Well, in the table here, it has the AV sales hours per city code, chapter 14. So it would be chapter 14. And that's 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No matter which facility we're talking about, restaurant, bar, gas station, whatever, 3 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Jonathan Scott, Transportation Planning. Just real briefly, since we'll be considering a parking waiver in this area, there's already a small parking problem on this Tyson Avenue, which is just south of the area. You can see cars park up and down there, so just consider that when you're looking at the parking waiver for this area. And I'll let the petitioner justify their request for their parking reduction.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, petitioner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of City Council and Council. John Grandoff with the firm Hillward and Henderson, Suite 3700, Bank of America Plaza. And I have the pleasure of representing Newport Tampa Holdings and BTI Partners this evening. And my clients are here, including Brittany Murkowski, am I right? And also Mr. Brian Van Slyke, who's here. Brian, do you please raise your hand? Also, this evening is our professional engineer, transportation engineer, Mr. Steve Henry of the Links and Associates firm. Steve's a registered engineer in Florida. And also counsel for one of the restaurant investors is Mr. Jake Kramer. The restaurant investor and
I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Mr. Grandoff.
developer of the property is Mr. David Willis. And we also have the folks that are going to build the first restaurant on parcel number 1, Scott and Karina Tashkin, who are with you, and they're going to provide to you some information about their concept, which is called Paloma. This evening, I'd like to introduce Mr. Henry, who can explain the waiver justification for you. It's a 30% waiver justification. LaShawn has detailed the application very well. We agreed to all of the revisions in the revision sheet, and those will be placed on the site plan between first and second readings. At this time, Steve, you come forward and please present that.
Good evening. Steve Henry, Links and Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa, 33607. I'll just go through these. So the request for tonight, as we had said, is for reduction in the required parking for restaurants that serve alcohol. Based on the projected number of restaurants, it equates to about 106 spaces is what we're looking at from a parking, waiving that number of spaces. Once it's completed, the overall project will have about 2,635 spaces. So the 106 equates to about 4% decrease in the overall parking for the project. As indicated, the West Shore Marina is a mixed-use project. When it's done right now, the projection is about 1,225 residential units, about 27,000 square feet of retail, and about 29,000 square feet of restaurants. This is the site plan for the project. It is a very pedestrian-oriented project, and what I've highlighted here are the trails and sidewalks for the project. This is Gandy Boulevard, Tyson here, West Shore over here. The red is a trail system that goes from Gandy Boulevard down to Tyson, and then we've got Bridge Street with the roundabout. It also has sidewalk and trail on both sides of the street, and then also sidewalk on Tyson. So there are a number of factors that we looked at associated with the variance, and those include a number of factors, one of which is internal capture. So as we said, the project's a mixed-use project. So there's going to be a percentage of trips that are internal to the project. We've looked at it based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and this is estimated about 29% of the traffic will be internal to the project. And in fact, it's about 43% of the restaurants would be internal. But when we looked at the parking, we just used 20% as a conservative number. The second thing is because it is pedestrian oriented and what's getting built out there, you've got the West Shore Yacht Club to the south, that you get people that may walk up there. In addition, you've got a new project that's under construction right now, the West Shore Tyson Apartments on the east side of West Shore. Again, it'll have sidewalk connection. And then also one that's in for rezoning right now, which is the Tyson Apartments just to our west. Again, have pedestrian connection. So in our analysis, we just assumed there might be 5% of those people may walk to the restaurants. The next one is valet. And I've actually spoken to some of valet services to see what kind of yield they get when they actually valet in a parking lot. And they said it's between 25 and 50% by parking cars closer, tandem parking, that type of thing. In our analysis, we just assumed 15%, as again, a very conservative number. And finally, it's Uber and Lyft. It's a relatively new phenomenon, but what we found from studies from Uber and Lyft, that actually 46% of their patrons use Uber when they're going to go out and drink. In addition, 36% of it use it when there's a perceived parking problem. Again, we only use about 10% reduction for Uber and Lyft. So when you look at all those factors, what it comes out to be is that there's about a 193 space reduction in the overall parking demand for the restaurant and retail. Our request is for 106. But in addition to that reduction, there's also additional spaces that are available. One is Bridge Street. We've got actually 67 on-street parking spaces on Bridge Street that are available for the restaurants. In addition, the Gandy Boat Ramp. That one is actually, there are 125 spaces available. They're available to the public at dusk until about 5 a.m. We actually have, if you look at our site plan, we actually have a pedestrian connection, the trail system, that actually connects our project to the Gandy Boat Ramp. So we've got some spaces available there. In addition to that, we've got 5 boat slips that are actually designated and will be signed for the restaurants only. That equates to about 197 spaces. Again, our request is about 106. So in summary, we're requesting 106 roughly space reduction. We've got 193 space demand reduction based on internal capture, valet, those things. And then we've also got 197 spaces potentially available to restaurants. The overall project reduction, again, is about a 4%. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the staff had indicated parking issue on Tyson. But I want to show why this project's different than what you've got out there on Tyson. One, again, this is a very walkable community. We've got 1,225 residents internal to the project that can walk there. In fact, the restaurants are within about a quarter of a mile of all of our restaurants. And again, we've got the extra parking, the boat ramp, Bridge Street, and the boat slips. This is a picture of Bridge Street. As you can see, it's very pedestrian friendly. We've got trail on one side, sidewalk on the other side. When you look at what we're being compared to, which is on Tyson, this is an aerial. The picture that you saw was of Hula Bay. The closest resident to Hula Bay today is in West Shore Yacht Club, which is about 3,200 feet away. This is what somebody living in West Shore Yacht Club would have to walk down to be able to get there from a pedestrian standpoint. Obviously, they're not going to walk, so everybody's driving. Again, another picture of that. Again, this is a picture of Bridge Street again. So you can see the difference between our project with the pedestrian ability, but also then the difference between our project is the fact that we've got internal residents and the other factors that I have stated. So unless you've got any questions, that concludes my presentation.
Any questions from council? Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. As always, a comprehensive presentation. How'd that movie go? You had me up until you said the Gandy boat ramp. That concerns me a little bit, especially on the weekends, because that thing looks very clogged with boaters and congested, so I hope that down the road, we don't see a conflict there. Weekdays, probably not an issue, but weekends. But anyway, putting that aside, Steve, the numbers that the city uses for these establishments, are they the same numbers that we would use, let's say, for a restaurant out on Gandy Boulevard that sits by itself?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we're not taking into consideration the fact that this is captured within a mixed-use development.
Right, the city adds up the individual parking requirements for each individual use and totals them and says that's your required parking, and does not take into account shared parking or mixed use.
Right. I think that, not specifically related to this petition, but I'm just throwing this out there to planners who happen to be sitting in the audience. I think we need to revisit our code, in that regard to identify the context, because we are encouraging more mixed-use projects, and when we do, it's really apples and oranges. But
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Brittany Markowski, who is, this is her project. She's done a remarkable job in bringing in some tenants that are always going to come into the project already. And Brittany, if you'll come forward for a moment, and we have an aerial photograph which gives a little bit of, I'll orientate you. Here's parcel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Bridge Street and Gandy Boulevard. Brittany, please address the council.
City Council, Brittany Mrczkowski, 4900 Bridge Street in Tampa. I am Vice President of Retail Development for BTI Partners. BTI is the master developer for the West Shore Marina District. In the district, it is comprised of 52 acres along 1.5 miles on the water. There are close to 1,300 residential units that will be in the district when it's completed. We also are building a 150 slip deep water marina, and we, as you know, we have 4, it's listed on the site plan as 5 retail parcels for retail and restaurant uses. So when BTI started planning this, just to give you an idea, it's a master plan community, as you know, but we wanted to create, a water-inspired, walkable, livable community. And so we've worked hard to deliver that. Within our retail parcels, we will have a large waterfront boat-up restaurant. We will have some Gandy retail and restaurants when the time comes. And we are finalizing plans for our town center around the roundabout called Marina Landings. And then we will also have some retail and restaurants on the first floor of the 3 high-rise luxury condo towers. Some of the tenants that we've announced so far would include Duckweed Urban Market. When curating this tenant mix, it was important to try and find the daily needs of our residents. We wanted to make it so you could walk downstairs and grab what you need, go to dinner, grab a coffee. So we have announced Duckweed Urban Market, which is a small grocer that does have a liquor store. We've also announced Crew Cellars, which is a wine bar and restaurant. Drink coffee and tea, Quench juice and smoothies, and we will be announcing a few more, health, beauty, fitness, tenants later this year. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we're trying to create here. If you haven't seen it, it's beautiful, and we're just really trying to create that lifestyle here. Thank you.
Question?
Councilman Dingfield.
Ma'am?
Ma'am?
Either you or Mr. Grandolph. When this project first came in, before you guys bought it, probably had a bankruptcy or whatever, but I was on council and supported it wholeheartedly, and I'm thrilled that it's come to this point. And the reason I supported it was because it's open to the public.
Exactly.
Your streets go out there to Gandy and over there to West Shore, and it's open and welcoming to public. And there was another project further south that I voted against because it was going to be, and it is, walled and private.
Yep.
And so I'm really thrilled that now we are here, I don't know what, John, 12, 13 years later. But it's got to this point, and I'm really excited. But with that said, footnote 2 on the chart that Ms. Dock said basically just says the hours are unlimited till 3 in the morning. Now, I don't think your hours are going to impact the neighbors outside of the development, But I'm concerned, especially for Mr. Carlson, that's his district now, you know, that down the road, when you do have owners and residents and that sort of thing, that you're gonna be open till 3 a.m. and they're not gonna appreciate it. So what are we doing to constrain that? And is it something that we can incorporate into the petition?
I understand your concerns. So that's important to me as well. I don't want to create a bar scene here. This is, like I said, restaurants, daily needs, things like that. I do write it into all of our leases. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the PD also restricts some hours. I could be wrong. But that is not our goal, to have a bar scene or strip of bars or loud music late. As I said, we're going to have almost 1,300 residential.
Couple of places on Howard Avenue, just
Yeah.
jump right out at
This
it.
is nothing like that. And like I said, we're going to have over close to 1,300 residential units in the district. We want to keep our residents happy.
Right. So maybe Mr. Granoff will speak in terms of any sort of voluntary constraints or whatever that we're talking about. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We could, getting back to your question, Mr. Jennifer, we would probably impose a special condition limiting hours till midnight on weekends and maybe 11 o'clock on weekdays.
I think that'd be fantastic for the total community, but including your own community, but
Okay.
maybe y'all can work that out between first and second reading.
Let me do that, because I need to consult with Brittany. I don't want to give it to you on the fly, but what I'm thinking of is Sunday to Thursday 11, and then Friday and Saturday midnight, but let me double check, and I'll clear that with Ryan and with LaShawn.
Thank you.
Just some quick points. I have 2 letters of support from Lennar and from Bainbridge, which Brittany obtained those. I got them. Yeah. Someone filed this with And then I want you to know that we sent out 900 letters, notice letters, and 4 letters to participating organizations. We posted 10 signs on the property. I received 3 phone calls. All of them were positive in support and asking when things were going to open. So we have some folks that can tell you when something's going to open. And this evening we have Scott and Karina Tashkin, who are going to open Paloma on Parcel 1. And they'd like to come up and speak to you for just a moment and hand out a brochure about their restaurant. Please come up.
Good evening. Scott Tashkin, live in South Tampa. It's my wife, Karina Tashkin.
Hello.
Is it okay to?
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Just like to say we're super excited about the opportunity to do this. Almost wish that we personally weren't doing it, because it's going to be such a cool spot, and to be able to visit it as a patron is going to be something special. Tampa, is a great city, and it still needs more of this. It needs more waterfront, boat up, nice restaurants, and that's what Karina and I are here to provide with Paloma. We on a regular basis visit the West Shore Marina District, even though we don't have a interest in it yet. We certainly would love to live there, but we walk the neighborhood, we walk the Friendship Trail, and it is truly a beautiful development. What they have done thus far is really incredible, and to see that along the Friendship Trail, you walk along the marina at sunset, and you're going to walk up to this beautiful restaurant with a coastal elegance, with a unique menu, a fantastic location. It just is something really different, I think, for Tampa in this setting, in a walkable setting. And one of the big reasons why we're doing this is the walkability of the neighborhood. They're really, it's surprising how much is going on there. from the townhouses being built to the apartments being built. The towers are breaking ground, and it's going to be a very walkable community, and we're really looking forward to those residents, hopefully us, being patrons at this special place. So hopefully you have a chance to look through the presentation. If you have any questions, menu questions would be directed more towards Karina.
Any questions from council? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
That's all we have this evening, and I'll reserve the remainder of my comments for closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and ma'am?
Council LaShawn, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Just as a point of clarification, there was the question regarding the hours on the PD. The PD plan does not specify any hours of operation. So the only way to achieve that is through this process, so the applicant has agreed to do so. I do ask council that you include it in your motion, the hours that were agreed upon, please, along with the other site plan revisions provided.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, and I don't believe I heard any agreement specified as of yet from the petitioner as to the hours of operation. That would be necessary. What you're saying is to be decided tonight before that can be placed on the site plan at the direction of council between first and second reading. Is that correct?
Correct. We would need to have that motion made tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What's her name? Can I ask her? Staff, LaShawn. Can I ask a couple clarifying questions? Did you or someone say that there was there's a limitation on amplified sound outside?
Yes.
Okay.
LaShawn, Planning, Design, Development
Is it no
Coordination.
amplified to sound?
There is. So there was a concern initially regarding the parcel locations and the residential adjacent to the parcels. So given that, I did speak with the applicant, their representative, John Randolph, and it was agreed upon that there would be no outdoor amplified sound after 11 p.m.
And that's going to be in the PD?
And that is on the revision sheet,
Okay.
and the applicant has agreed to make that revision.
And the second question, just for clarification for anybody who's watching and my constituents, the constituents of South Tampa all along West Shore hate development because they can't move up and down West Shore Boulevard. But the clarifying question, just so everybody knows who's watching, is that the development is already approved. We're only looking at the alcohol use now, right?
Correct.
So that, just so everybody knows, it's all, the land use is already approved and the traffic, whatever it's gonna be, has already been approved. This is just about alcohol use.
Yes, the land use was approved through the PDA, and then this request before you this evening is the special use too for the alcoholic beverage sales only.
Anyone else? And I have a question on this menu. Is there going to be a Subway here too?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, is anyone here to publicly comment on item number 15? If so, please come forward at this time.
Council members, Jake Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street. A little bit unusual for me to comment for you for public comment, but I'm here representing BTW Group, which is the ownership group of Paloma, which you just heard about. As I think most of you all know, myself and my partner Vin Marchetti have had a lot of involvement in this project over the years, and this is what was envisioned 12 or 13 years ago, is that we have a walkable community. And we always knew we would be back here. We kind of hoped that the parking code might see some adjustments over those 12 years. At least that's what Vin told me, but we just aren't there yet. And so we always knew we would be here. This is really what it takes to get the walkable community and get that real gateway community you're looking for here. Councilman Carlson, to your question or comment about traffic, one of the good things about this community is Bridge Street, and so it's reinforcing that grid pattern to hopefully help some of those traffic snarls. To the question, Councilman Dingfelder, about the boat ramp, I did talk with county real estate staff who manages the boat ramp, and they did let me know that that they're supportive of the connection to this use. Some of the parking spots are always open to the public for free. Others of the parking spots are spots that you're towed if you don't have a boat. So the idea would be you go out, boat, and then you're able to come next door to the restaurant. So with that, we ask for your approval, and we feel like this application gets us a little bit further to bringing, really restaurants and places for folks to go south of Gandy that really the likes, we haven't seen something to this quality south of Gandy, so we ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
I'm Torrey Bingham, 5801 Mariner Street, actually pretty close to this development. I am one of the owners, along with my wife, with Crew Cellars, planned wine bar in this development. And yes, I don't want to take up your time repeating things that have already been said. I just want to reiterate we're very excited to be a part of this project. As somebody who lives close and used to live much closer, I can tell you this is something that I would imagine all of the residents are sorely looking forward to. You live so close to the water, but you never get to see it, and it's going to be a fun opportunity for people to actually enjoy the waterfront. If I can sort of allay any concerns in terms of noise or rowdiness or anything like that, it's certainly not our intention as a wine bar to be slinging shots or anything like that. Those customers that live all around us, those are probably our best customers, and I have no intention of annoying them in any way. I don't know Scott only by reputation, but I think both of us can say we're not here to sort of leech off the surroundings. We're there to add to it and be beneficial members of that community. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I'm just very excited about the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, anyone else here for public comment on item number 15? And Mr. Randolph, any rebuttal? I would think not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing further. This is a remarkable project. This is very good for the city. I respectfully request your approval this evening. We will address the hours of operation in the interim between now and second reading and be back to you on that.
Mr. Randolph, I don't believe that is permissible as the way the process is set up, because it has to be directed to staff specifically with council's approval, and that's normally done between first and second reading.
Okay, well, perhaps we can recess for a few moments, because we need to caucus a little bit and see what would be doable.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. We'll recess for 5 minutes.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. We shall return.
Hours would be Sunday through Wednesday, closing at 11 o'clock. Thursday through Saturday, closing at 1 o'clock, except named calendar holidays, which would be regulated by Chapter 14 to account for New Year's Eve, Christmas, Thanksgiving, those types of things. And we would have a condition written according to these terms.
Any questions?
Appreciate that.
Okay. That is all we have. We respectfully request your approval this evening.
Thank you, sir. May I have a motion to close? So moved. We have a motion to close by Councilman Goods, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. Yes, sir.
Just a reminder, Council, I passed out the sample motions on the third page of the handout is your alcoholic beverage motions along with the criteria if you feel necessary to address that. And also just a reminder with regard to the revision sheets that were supplied by Ms. Dock and also the hours of operation as defined by Petitioner's Counsel.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the motion to close? Aye. Any opposed? And I believe, did you read it last? I read the last one. Okay. Councilman Carlson. That's fine. Councilman Dingfeld, do you feel comfortable taking this one, sir?
Okay. You got cheat sheets. Yeah. Okay. In regard to file AB 2-19-21, an ordinance being presented for first reading, an ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, large venue consumption on premises and package sales, off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 4900 and 5201 Bridge Street, as well as 5000 and 5001 West Gandy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date, specifically finding that the petitioner has met its burden of proof, providing competent substantial evidence that the special use as condition shown on the site plan presented, as well as the conditions agreed to, meet the standards of Section 27-129 of the City of Tampa Code. Specifically, this is more or less an isolated parcel of, I think, 50-plus acres, a mixed-use development. The use is compatible with the contiguous and surrounding properties, and also the specific conditions and hours of operation has been agreed to by Mr. Grandoff, which is on the record, and I believe it was, well, I'm not going to restate it. I don't know. Do you want me to restate it, Ms. Sherman?
Necessary, is that, we're fine, thank you.
Okay.
And the revision sheet too, please.
And also including, incorporating by reference the site plan revision sheet, pages 1 and 2 as provided by staff.
Okay, do we have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
The motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be on October 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
May I
sir.
retrieve the brochures, please?
Oh, you know what?
What, the
I
restaurant?
left them in my office. I'll run and get it. Do you mind? Got the approval. Bad business, you know? All right. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Ryan Manassi, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. The item before you is number 16, the application AB 21922. The property address is 2223 North West Shore Boulevard, Unit 224. The agent for the application is Ann Pollock, and she is present. The current zoning on the property is PDA, which is Planned Development Alternative, and the future land use is RMU 100, Regional Mixed Use 100. The recommendation of planning, the development review and compliance staff has reviewed it, and we find it consistent with the applicable City of Tampa development regulations. The petition before you is requesting special use approval to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for a small venue, beer, wine, and liquor consumption on premises only. The total AB sales area for the proposed petition is 2,826 square feet, which contains 2,252 square feet indoor and 574 square feet outdoor. The proposed use on the property is a cigar bar lounge. This petition was not considered a change of use, and the parking requirement for the entire site is 5,669 spaces, and that was approved through alternate design exception 119-165. The petitioner's required parking, if you were to calculate it separately from that, would be 15 spaces within this overall requirement. The property is located within the West Shore Business Center, and the distance separation requirement is 250 feet from residential uses. Exhibit C, the application, certified by the applicant's surveyor, states there are no residential uses within the 200-foot distance separation requirement. The site plan states the sales area shall not be located within a parking or loading area or space, and that all permits issued after April 1st, 2011 shall be kept on site, a copy of the adopted ordinance and associated site plan. The general requirements and code of staff findings again found it consistent with the applicable City of Tampa regulations with no comments to the site plan before you tonight. There are no waivers requested. They met all code. And the distance from the specific survey for the distance separation requirement again is within the business center. It's 250 feet from residential uses, and the location itself as shown on the site plan before you is well within any of that. It's also certified on Exhibit C. The property is within the West Shore overlay. Some code criteria for City Council reference and consideration is it comes from Section 2743, which are definitions. The first definition is for a small venue, which is defined as a commercial establishment with less than 300 person occupancy, which sells alcoholic beverages. Their AB classification, again, is beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. The proposed use on the property is going to be a bar or lounge. Also, Section 27-129 General Standards is listed in the staff report for your reference, as well as Section 27-132 for regulations governing individual special uses. That would go into the distance separation requirements and the special use conditions which this site plan did meet. I have before you the site plan. Also, you have a copy of it. It indicates the outdoor area as well as the indoor area. This is located in the International Mall, more of the north side. The airport would be to the north here. This is where like the Cheesecake Factory is, and I'll show you some other photos, try to define that area a little bit better. I know it's a large establishment. This is just the vicinity aerial map, kind of showing the localized zoning that's surrounding the property. I made a little star for you to try my best to determine where this would be. Again, the AB sketch that's associated with the application certified the AB sales area, and that would be a separate legal description. The picture to the top is the actual unit. This shows the outdoor area. I could probably give you a different picture to define it better, but it's going to run along the front of this as well as this covered area. This is the bottom picture is a better location of the covered outdoor area. On the site plan, and the applicant may do a little bit better job of explaining, but it's going to kind of extend out here into the front. And then this is looking towards, there's a new Hablo Taco establishment, as well as there's a Taps right next door. This is a better picture of the location right adjacent to this property, or next to the property. The bottom picture is showing the view southeast. The TPD report did come back, and Tampa Police found no objections to the special use request. Staff is available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council? Thank you very much, sir.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ann Pollock with Fletcher & Fisher, 433 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I represent Tampa West Shore Associates, who is the owner of International Plaza Mall. We are back for this Unit 224, It used to be Zen Bistro, but it's changed, and now the King Corona Cigar Lounge wants to come in and be there. This is a small venue, less than 300 person occupancy. We are looking for beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. The King Corona is in Ybor, as you're probably familiar, and they are expanding to have a bar lounge at International Plaza. No sales of alcohol for off-premises consumption. They will be selling cigars and for smoking and there and for sales. The site is located in the sort of the back area of Bay Street, so it's a little separate from the main drag that walks through. I believe they are moving their full kitchen to be the humidor. So it really truly will act as a lounge. They plan to abide by all applicable drinking and smoking laws. No waivers are being requested. We are farther than 250 feet from residential uses. It's kind of an isolated parcel, so we feel that the alcohol sales are compatible and similar to other uses that are already approved within International Plaza. Compatible with the comprehensive plan, it complies with all standards, and we have staff support. So I would hear for questions, but otherwise I would ask for your support.
Any questions from the council? Councilman Siddiqui.
May I, if I may, does the mall regulate hours of operation?
They do generally on a lease-by-lease basis.
Do you know what hours this is going to be regulated to?
I believe till 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Manassi, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. I just want to make clear that the site plan does stay consistent with Chapter 14, which would be available to stay open until 3 a.m.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone here for public comment on item number 16? If so, please come forward at this time. We have a motion to close by Councilman Moran, second by Councilman Goods. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Goods, do you, sir, mind taking item number 16?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number AB2-19-22, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2223 North West Shore Boulevard, Unit B224, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinance or parts of the ordinance in conflict are repealed, providing effective date.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Goods, a second by Councilman Scacco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
The motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be on October 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, thank you. We move next to item 17.
Mary Samaniego, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Item number 17 is REZ 1964. It's a rezoning request from RS 50 to plan development for detached single-family residential.
Good evening, council members. Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission staff. We're in the Central Tampa Planning District. This is North Rome Avenue and West Hiawatha Street. We're south of Sly. This is an evacuation zone D. Rome and Sly Park is located approximately 300 feet to the north of the subject site. This right here. I have some manufactured housing to the south, single family detached, and then a church and a church school use located to the north along West Sly Avenue. That pattern is reflected on your future land use map. The green is recreation open space, that's the park. This is residential 20, and then the subject site is residential 10, which is the single family detached, and that's that orange color. And then I do have a little bit of the residential 35 along West Sly, which is a higher, more intense future land use designation for residential uses. We did find this consistent with the comprehensive plan. We did find that the proposed PD would be in similar form, height, and scale of the surrounding residential uses. This furthers the future land use designations of residential 10 furthers its intent, and we found that it would not alter the surrounding development pattern of the neighborhood. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mary Samaniego, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. The applicant is requesting a plan development to create 2 single-family lots. Here is the proposed PD site plan. As you can see, again, the property is zoned RS50, so the minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet in a 50-foot wide lot. Excuse me. Each of the 2 proposed lots are 52.5 feet wide. However, it's only 94 feet deep. So instead of each lot being 5,000 square feet, each lot is 4,935 square feet. So they're 65 feet short of the RS50 minimum lot size standards. Therefore, as I explained earlier tonight, they default into a planned development where they can create their own minimum lot size. They are projecting a number of trees on site. The proposed height and setback are comparable to those of the RS50 zoning district. There are no waivers being requested, and there is just 2 minor changes to occur between first and second reading for information that needs cleaned up on the site plan. Other than that, the Development Review and Compliance staff did find this consistent with the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Just we had something similar to this out there in Ybor a couple months ago, and I'm just going to urge staff to take a real close look at this and come back to us when we do our Chapter 27 revisions to give. I'm very careful and cautious to say this, but I think staff should have some discretion to be able to give folks like this some relief when they're within, let's say, 5% of the needed square footage or something like that. I know you don't have that discretion now, but I feel for people like this who've now spent thousands of dollars with the PD process, that's really just a matter of inches or feet.
Right.
So anyway, that's a comment, just a general comment.
Right, staff understands, staff has no discretion for any of these matters. So.
Tell the boss folks to, let's talk about that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much, ma'am. Applicant.
Good evening, council. My name is Nelson Gomez. I'm the applicant. As you can see, we're just shy of 65 square feet for each lot, and we really need your approval if all possible. We received a couple of letters with the acceptance of the actual split and approval from nearby neighbors. I got 2 letters for that. There's also, and I've written, I'll put this up here, see if you can see it a little bit. All right, so this is the subject property right there. And down about a block away or a block and a half away, there's, at these addresses, you can see that there's, you can see that. Well, I got 3 locations where the actual square footage of those lots are way less than what we were requesting. So I've used that as more of comps to see if we can get that split and make it happen. Otherwise, I think that's basically it. If you have any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone here to publicly comment on item number 17? If so, please come forward. Second. We have a motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Any opposed? I believe, Councilman Maniscalco, you're next, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind reading item 17.
Absolutely. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 6719 North Rome Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50, residential single family, to PD plan development, residential single family detached, providing an effective date. And I see here that per City of Tampa staff report did find it consistent and consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the petitioner has met its burden of proof to provide competent and substantial evidence.
We have a motion by Councilman Escaco, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion carried with Carlson voting no. Second reading and adoption will be on October 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crew. Next, we move to our last item, towards that final countdown, item number 19.
Council, Ryan Manassi, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Item number 19 is for the application AB 219-18 for the property located at 456 West Columbus Drive. The applicant for the application is Nikki Childs, and the current zoning on the property is CG, Commercial General. The future land use is CMU 35, Community Mixed Use 35. The Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed the application and finds it inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa planning and development regulations. Should you approve it tonight, there are a few minor corrections to the site plan that are depicted in the staff report that would need to be adjusted between first and second reading. The petition before you is requesting special use approval to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for a small venue, beer and wine, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption. The proposed use is microbrewery, bar, and retail sales. This petition was considered a change of use from the established use of retail, and the required parking was calculated by the total occupants times 0.25. The floor plan, which is on the second sheet on the overhead and provided to you. Just a little backstory, this was continued because the floor plan did have to get adjusted, and they actually lost a waiver by continuing it and coming down in occupancy. So the way we calculated it was the most current floor plan, which came out to 101 persons per life safety plan times 0.25 equaling 25 spaces. The site shows 28 parking spaces, so they meet their parking requirement. The total AB sales area is 5,054 square feet, which is indoor only. The property is within the Tampa Heights urban village, and the distance separation requirement is 250 feet from other AB sales establishments. The site plan states the hours of operation will be consistent with Chapter 14, and the sales area shall not be located within a parking or loading area or space. Also, the site plan states all permits issued after April 1st, 2011 shall be kept on site, a copy of the adopted ordinance and associated site plan. Planning, Design, and Development Coordination did find it inconsistent, and that's due to the two waivers that they're requesting. One comes from Section 27-132, and that's to reduce the required distance separation to other AB sales establishments from 250 feet to 60 feet. The second waiver comes from Section 27-283.12, and that's to allow the reduction of the 45-degree angle parking depth from 17 feet to 15 feet. Planning, Design, and Transportation Planning found that inconsistent. The distance, again, in an urban village is 250 feet from other AB sales establishments, and that 60-foot AB sales establishment is located at 509 West Columbus Drive, and it's the Columbus Food Mart. They hold a 1 APS, which is beer for package sales only. General planning and transit findings found that Hart Route 7 as well as Hart Route 15 run on both those, the North Boulevard as well as Columbus, typically around 5 a.m. to almost 11 p.m. weekends, and then roughly 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekdays. The property is located in the Tampa Heights urban village, and the code criteria for City Council to reference and for your consideration is listed in the staff report. It comes from Section 2743 for definitions. And again, this is a small venue, which is a commercial establishment with less than 300 person occupancy, which sells alcoholic beverages. And then the proposed uses as well as the AB classification is listed there in the staff report. Also, Section 27-129 general standards are there for your reference, and Section 27-132 regulations governing individual special uses. And that's where the distance separation comes into play, as well as the parking or loading area or space AB cells, which they state they will not have, and having the permit after April 1st, 2011 on site. Again, the site plan that was provided to you shows the overall site. The AB cells is all interior to the building. There's no other uses. It's not a strip center, so the use itself is for the entire building. Their parking is laid out, and that degree, the angled parking is referencing some of these parking that are angled. They didn't meet code by the back out from 15 to 17 feet. Also, the aerial map shows you the surrounding zoning for the property. Outlined in red is just the zoning parcel. I did a little dot just to include my blue outlined area would be for the AV sales. Again, the AV sketch that was certified by our right-of-way department, as well as their surveyor to cut out a legal description for the AV sales area is certified and supplied in the application. As you can see, CG encompasses most of the surrounding properties. To the south, there is RM16. But just for your review, this residential uses was not triggered as a distance separation requirement. The top picture is the subject site, and that's the front of the facade. Bottom picture, east side is subject site. Top is the east neighbor, which is a commercial use. West side of the structure looking south down North Boulevard. Top is the rear. There's actually an alley in the back of this property. So that's all their parking that's currently fenced off, I'm assuming for the construction. And this is looking more of a west direction down the alley. It also kind of shows the establishment and then the residential over here. That is the south neighbor, which is zoned residential. The use is residential. And to the north, the 509 West Columbus is the closest establishment. That's directly north from this property across from Columbus Drive. Top picture is a west view of Columbus Drive. Bottom picture is the east view of Columbus Drive. The other site plan that was provided to you in the staff report is the minor corrections between first and second reading. There's just a couple clerical errors that have to be updated in the waiver language as well as the site data. And TPD's report did find no objections to this request. Staff is available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Applicant.
Thanks. First, a few of us need to be sworn in.
Haven't been sworn in. Mr. Crew, if
Yes.
you don't mind, sir. Anyone else hasn't been sworn in who's planning on speaking?
You swear or affirm you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. Matt Poling, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2700. I represent the applicant. I don't want to keep us here past midnight, but my clients here, they want to put in a microbrewery. This is at the corner of Columbus and Boulevard. Just want to touch on a couple of things. Here is, at the intersection looking at this building, it dates back to the 20s. It's my understanding it's been vacant for quite a long time. This is from 2014, but up until earlier this year, this is what it looked like. No windows, vacant building. In connection with my client's proposal, the whole frontage on Columbus now has windows and doors. It looks a lot better. Building's been painted. So making some good changes here in the neighborhood. We also have letters of support from both the Tampa Heights Civic Association and the Ridgewood Park Crime Prevention and Civic Association. You can enter those. And as Ryan noted, one of our waivers is the distance separation requirement. We have a couple existing alcoholic beverage establishments within the 250 feet, the closest being Columbus Food Mart right across the street from us. And the second waiver, again, as I mentioned, this is an existing site dating back to the 20s. The parking lot, we've got some diagonal spaces that don't comply with current code. They have a depth of 15 feet, code requires 17 feet, and we would note that our drive aisle here is 19 feet, which is significantly larger than what code requires, so we don't believe there's really any issue with these being slightly substandard. So here to answer any questions, I have Nikki and Eric Childs, who are behind Woven Water, and they're here to tell you about their beer if you want to hear about it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Yes, sir, Councilman.
Petitioner has to tell us the landmark name of this building. Come on.
Nikki?
I think most of us know. Hutto's Corner, right? No? Am I off?
Yes. This is, let's say, jeweler.
This used to be Cox Drugstore.
Drugstore, okay, I stand corrected.
And they went to live set.
Yep, and they just sold it.
Thank you very much, sir.
So Hutto's is further north.
On MLK and Boulevard.
MLK.
Buffalo Avenue.
Don't go there.
Back in the day.
Don't go there.
No, it's been demolished for years.
Was it demolished?
Oh, yeah. Used to go
And are you here for public comment, ma'am, or?
No, I'm actually the applicant.
Okay, so if you don't.
My name is Nikki Childs, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Woven Water Brewing Company. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's really late, and I don't want to say anything that's already been said, so I'm going to try to keep it very short. With your approval, we truly hope to create a third space for the local community and other craft beer goers in the Tampa Bay area. Craft beer is woven water, and we truly believe that once we get our brewery operating, we not only intend to weave quality and care into the products that we offer, but also weave ourselves into the local community, which we have already begun to do with overwhelmingly positive show of support. When we started our property search a couple years ago, we originally were looking at the vacant property across the street on the southwest corner, but found this property to be a better fit for the project. And it's been vacant for quite some time. Through planning for the site, we were looking at an additional waiver, as Matthew had stated, with less parking spots than required, but we now have more parking spots than what is required. We've received overwhelming support from both the Tampa Heights Civic Association and the Ridgewood Park Crime Prevention and Neighborhood Association. In fact, both associations have submitted the formal letters of support for our application. We feel that this location could potentially spur positive growth and development for the local community, as studies have shown across the nation. Locally, Hidden Springs Ale Works is a great example of this positive development on Franklin Street, as well as Bay Cannon Beer Company on Main Street. Woven Water Brewing Company hopes to become a welcome addition, as Hidden Springs and Bay Cannon have, to their surrounding neighborhoods, and make some significant improvements to that corner. For us, this project represents the realization of a long-held dream, and it would be so wonderful for us to see it getting closer to it becoming a reality, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else from the applicant? Yes, we'll get there, sir. Anything else from the applicant? Nothing? Okay. Next, public comment. If you're here to publicly comment on item number 19, please come forward. And sir, you may come forward if you wish to speak. 3 minutes, please state your name.
I'm going to be short. Hi, good evening. My name is Hugo. I live in Riverside Heights, which is across the street, basically, from the brewery. I'm very excited about this project. I just support it fully because I think we need something in the neighborhood. I've lived in my house for about 10 years now, and I've seen this corner decrepit, dead, and vacant. So I'm extremely happy to see the windows coming up. So it's going to create a good job for the city and good tax dollars. So I'm hoping you guys will approve it. Thank you.
And Mr. Hugo, what was your last name, sir?
Tuveres.
Tuveres. Thank you very much, Mr. Tuveres. Thank you very much. Okay. Motion to close.
Move to close.
We have a motion to close by Councilman Citro, second by Councilman Escalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Was it, were you next, sir?
If you would like for me to be next, that is fine with me. In case AB 2-19-18, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 456 West Columbus Drive, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or part of ordinance in conflict or repealed, providing an effective date, including the waivers of reduction from other AV sales from 250 to 60 and parking depth from 17 feet to 15 feet. All AV sales site plan shows compliance. However, there are minor corrections that will be needed to the site plan between first and second reading.
We have a motion by Councilman Citra, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be on October 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Great. Now we go to motions. Councilman Carlson. Nothing. Councilman Miranda.
I have one, sir.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make, to amend a motion that was adopted by City Council on September 12, 2019. That's scheduled to adopt a public hearing regarding the City of Tampa FY20-FY24 Capital Improvement Section CIS schedule of projects on October 24th, 2019 at 5:01. The Planning Commission has advised me that due to a scheduling conflict and unavailability of the presenter, it is necessary to continue this adoption hearing to November 14th, 2019 at 5:01. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir. Councilman Citro.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Before I go home and enjoy my Game Boy.
Good. I hope you have 4 AA batteries.
Yes, I do. And stream The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu, all while reading Chuck Frago's latest article on my handheld device. I would like to make a motion that City Council invite Beth Alden, from the MPO to present an overview of the 2045 Long-Range Transportation Plan, allowing her 15 minutes to present on October 3rd at 9 a.m. Mr. Chair, I do believe we have time for that.
Yes, sir. Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Citro, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
Nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Maniscalco.
So the last one we just approved right there on Columbus and Boulevard, when my mom was a little girl and went to school down the street at Villa Madonna, she would visit this place with my grandparents. It was Cox Drugstore, little corner family-owned place. So I'm glad to see that we approved this, because that whole area, those corners, the gas station across the street's being redone, the other gas station's being redone, and then with the previous council, we approved some townhouse developments there. So I'm glad to see, along with Armature Works just down the road, that area coming up after so many years of neglect. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Goods.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, we talked about this earlier. There were 2 motions I made earlier in the year already in reference to a community business ordinance and also a reentry ordinance. Apparently, there's some discrepancy of staff versus workshop, what I'd asked for, so I want to make sure I amend that motion, make it correctly stated. I'd like to amend a previous motion regarding the creation of a reentry ordinance. I would like to have a workshop instead of a staff report, which is currently set for 10/24 as a staff report.
Second. Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Goods, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Second motion, Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend a previous motion made on 8/22 regarding community business ordinance. I would like to schedule this as a workshop for 1/30/2020.
Okay.
What was that again? I'm sorry?
January 30th, 2020.
January 30th of 2020, on a workshop day. Would you want that scheduled then? Is it presently scheduled at all, or it's not on the agenda?
I checked with the clerk and said it wasn't not scheduled, but I know we had talked about that, and I thought it was on the 30th, but apparently it wasn't.
So presently, you have something
I
scheduled.
remember you doing that.
Presently, Councilman Goods, you have, Mr. Chairman, you have something scheduled for 9:30. Would you like to schedule for 10?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, with motion by Councilman Goods, I think a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
That's it, sir.
Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm going to codify my earlier comments and request that the legal and planning staff take a look at this issue of folks who fall just a little bit short of their zoning. Maybe we could look at perhaps 5%. And the idea would be that through an administrative review and a staff review that folks could go ahead and be able to build and develop if they're within 5% of the total square footage or specific dimensions of the lot. I know we used to have that rule a long time ago. I don't think it was 5%. I can't remember what the percentage was. Do you remember, Charlie?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, then the rule got wiped out, and now we're in this very strict environment that says you got to toe the line and be exact, or you got to spend thousands of dollars on a PD, and I don't think that's really fair either. So that's the intent of the motion. Staff and legal could take a look at that and come back. Let's say second meeting in November. What's that, Jim? 19th?
How does that date look, Mr. Shelby?
Staff
All right.
report.
Second meeting in November actually is the 21st, and it looks light.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Crew, City Clerk's Office. Could I ask that the motion be stated in its entirety for the record?
Yes, it's staff and planning staff and legal take a look at drafting a code revision, Chapter 27 code revision that would address perhaps property owners who are within 5% of the specific dimensional criteria of a zoning code, that it would become an administrative process instead of a rezoning process.
May I ask that you consider amending that motion to allow a staff report for recommendations, because an ordinance would probably fall into your cycle in order
Right.
to make that adjustment, rather than have them come back on that date with an ordinance, to have them come back with their recommendations. for
Well,
staff.
I don't want to miss the cycle. Anybody know when the cycle
I
is?
don't believe the cycle is, I believe it's in January.
Okay, all right, well, that'll give us enough time. So just a staff report on the feasibility of doing that and what they might recommend.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, anything else, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay, and just very quick, something that happened this morning. I want a motion for City Attorney Gina Grimes to report to us next week, first on the agenda, I think it would be, on council's legal authorities that relates to the proposed resolution on assault weapons. I'll go into very brief background. There was some confusion from the city attorney's office. The only thing I want to make clear to my colleagues is that before proceeding with this issue, we did our due diligence, checking with Mr. Shelby, going in depth with Ms. Grimes, because I would never go forward with something like that without doing our due diligence, not just for my own sake, not just for the sake of staff, but for the sake of my colleagues here in City Council. So that's the only issue that I wanted to make clear, and I think that Ms. Grimes will enlighten us in that regard.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Vieira.
Second.
We have a second from Councilman Citro. Any discussion on it? No? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, Councilman Goods?
Mr. Chairman, you're the chairman of the Tampa City Council, and we all make motions. Sometimes we don't get a lot of clarity sometimes. And sometimes during that process, we learn different things. I think it was a learning experience today. I think that a little miscommunication, but I don't think it's a big apology. It was like all your fault. I just think it's some things that dropped in. Make it clear to viewers that, hey, it's a good suggestion you brought forward. It'll come back and we'll go from there.
I appreciate that. No, I just wanted to make clear that we did vet it legally with appropriate counsel because of the potential inferred ramifications of larger steps, just to set folks' mind at ease. But I appreciate that, Councilman. Thank
We
you.
have a motion from, wait.
Yeah. Like I was alluding to, I think this morning, the good news is, and I was just reading the brief, the good news is the court up in Tallahassee who ruled on that preemption, especially on the enforcement side of the preemption, made a really strong order in favor of local government, basically saying that the penalties that the legislature had put into place are unconstitutional. So let's hope that the higher courts uphold that as it goes further. But right now, it's a little bit up in the air because it was only a circuit court.
All right, so we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, to clarify, that is for a staff report next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question as to where within the agenda do you wish to have that?
First, to respect Ms. Grimes' time.
After the ceremonial or prior to?
Let's do prior to. she's a busy lady, so
Okay.
it won't
Thank
take
you.
long.
All right, we have a motion from Chairman Vieira with a second from Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And then, just very briefly, November 7th, I'd asked legal to come back, and then I think there's gonna be more complexity and time on this with an issue with contracting and prisons, et cetera. I'm gonna remove that if I may, and just come back on that with a later time, just quickly. November 7th. November 7th.
We don't need a motion, do we? We have a motion from Chairman Vieira with a second from?
Second.
From Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Receive and file.
Move to receive and file.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.